very glad to be here again this year at this wonderful event with our partner Pangaea. So welcome. We're here to talk about patient journey and how to secure patient recruitment and clinical trials. Find proactively untreated or at-risk patients even before they know they need to be treated. So if we talk about clinical trials, we all know they're very expensive. It takes a long time. They're mostly imprecise, and it is very difficult to recruit and to retain patients. Let me give you some figures to show here we have a huge challenge here. One, it takes 12 years it costs 2.6 billion to bring new drugs to the market. Incredible 80% of us, 80% of patients are non-responder if we talk the top 20 drugs. And if we go to cancer, we have 40% of clinical trials failed because due to insufficient patient. And if we focus to France, we have here in France only 10% of cancer patients who are in a clinical trial. So there's a real issue here to find the right patient in the right clinical trial. And what we want to do, and even have a better matching, and what we want to do is to recruit faster and have a better matching. So why it is so complex to recruit patients? Because there are a lot of regulation, a lot of rules, very inclusive one, exclusive one, and often in a very complex format on an IT perspective. And you all know also we have a lot of different database regarding the data, the patient data. We have data in the EMR, we have data in the medical records, we have data in medical laboratory results, so forth and so on. So that the huge issue here to understand the criteria of the recruitment, but also to find the right data at the right time. So how we as Microsoft with our partner can help to tackle these challenges, we can do several things together. We can, of course, help to get access to these unstructured data in a multimodal way, because we're talking about voice, we're talking about text, we're talking about images. So it's kind of difficult to have access to all this unstructured data. We can help, in fact, of course, in doing this matching of all these data, and we can also help to make the documentation afterwards to accelerate the treatment. So this is exactly what we're doing since a couple of years with our partner Pangaea. So I'm very pleased to welcome you, Jingqing, to this session. And can you tell us what is Pangaea and what challenges do you tackle?
Right. Thank you, Karine, for the opening and the introduction and having us over here. And also thank you, everyone, for being here. So very glad that I represent Pangaea Data to talk about how we are using AI technologies and combining that with the guidelines to find those untreated or undertreated patients, as we are calling them. So as Karine kindly mentioned, right, there has been a long journey for a patient to be recruited for a trial, right, starting from screening to diagnosis to going through targeted investigations and eventually participate in a trial. It has been a long journey. And during this journey, as we have been seeing when we're working with clinicians in the healthcare, in the hospitals and also in the pharmaceuticals, so we see a lot of those patients are being missed or not being diagnosed on time, and as a result of which they're of course being missed at the end during their journey at the point of the care. So as one of the examples, so probably let's say a patient, right, comes in to the healthcare, into the consultation room with the clinicians. They may be reporting something which is very specific at that time when they enter the room, like for example over here, like cloudy urinations or pain in their low body or feeling tired. And the clinician will respond, right, and react to what's happening to that patient at the current moment, which could be, for example, urinary tract infections and giving some antibiotics. But the problem over there is that, the clinician is also quite busy, right? And when they look at the patient records or details of the patient historical records from both lab, structured data, and unstructured data, we may also notice the patient may have something else at the same time, right? For example, the patient may have renal insufficiencies, has decreasing eGFR for a quite long period of time. The patient may also have diabetes, right? Or even though those informations are not the chief complaint of the patients at the current moment in the consultation room, but given all of those historical information or comprehensive information coming from the patient records, this patient may have at risk of chronic kidney diseases, right? And the patient may be suitable for specific targeted investigations and which may lead to the trial they are suitable for. And for example, over here, if we plot this linear journey of the patient from screening, diagnosis, to post-diagnostic tests, to treatment and planning, so we can see the patient are being missed at every single stage of their patient journey. And for example, like prevalent diseases like COPD and CKD, where 70–90% of patients being missed, or cancer patients who are not receiving the test that they are supposed to receive for their treatment, and the result of which, for trial, everything happened on the right-hand side, where a patient finished some diagnosis and being suitable for investigations. But if the patient are being missed in the journey of this, in the process, then those patients will not appear in the trial, will not even appear as a candidate for the trials.
So thank you. You just show that you're not tackling only the clinical trial issue, but you're also having some activities in pre-diagnosis. So can you tell us a bit more and perhaps give us a use case?
Right. So at Pangaea, basically, when we provide our software platform, we're targeting, as we mentioned, finding patients. And finding patients, and one important use cases, of course, is on the right-hand side, where the patient has been diagnosed. So we find those patients who are suitable for a specific post-diagnostic test, or make sure the patient on the guideline concordant treatment when they have been diagnosed, especially the treatment which has been specifically defined by the guideline, like NCCN guideline for oncology, KDIGO guideline for CKD, so on and so forth. But also important stuff on the left-hand side is a patient who may have not been diagnosed yet, right? But they have the risk factors they should be keep monitoring on. So the patient at the pre-diagnosis stage, how to find those undiagnosed or at-risk patients earlier in their journey. As one of the example, for example, over here, so you can see on the top, right, where this is some screenshot and illustrations about the data from the structured and unstructured data of the patient. So you can see some highlights from their notes. So where we're using NLP technology, like we're working with Microsoft, where we're using text analytics for health on Azure Cloud and also Azure OpenAI to capture those clinical concepts precisely and accurately, to not only in English, but also in French, in Spanish, and most European languages as well. And then we enforce those reasonings coming from the clinical guidelines. Right? For example, over here, you can see the patients have declined serum albumin, increased serum creatinine, which is suggesting renal functions failures, and also the risk factors like cardiovascular diseases and hypertension, which are all suggesting, based on the KDIGO guidelines, we define very clear criteria, those patients could be CKD already, and they should go through investigations and testings.
Thank you, Jingqing. So what value do you bring to healthcare professional? And got a second question is about how do you scale, which is also one of a big challenge here.
That's right. So if I move on to next page, of course, the benefit for the patient is that if we can find this patient earlier, right, the patient will be treated and make sure the patient can be on the best care pathway they're supposed to be on based on the clinical guidelines. And also for the clinicians do not have to spend their time on reviewing extensively the patient record themselves, but they can use AI as their assistant to find the target patient they're specifically interested in, and also for the administrators and leadership at healthcare systems and healthcare centers. So they can also use this to ensure quality of their care, compliance, because we as a company and Microsoft don't touch or move their data. The data stay behind the control of the healthcare system within their cloud infrastructures, Azure, and also, of course, reducing the cost and treatment, because we're able to bring this patient earlier in their journey to avoid those rescue modes at the end of or more severe stage of the diseases. And finally, in terms of scaling, because where Azure being scaled and deployed at healthcare systems, the IT colleagues at hospitals can deploy our product easily through Azure Marketplace. So which means this integration to their EHR through Fire and IT infrastructure through Azure Marketplace can make their life easier as well. So I don't have to spend months or even years to deploy an AI system, but this can happen in days or even just 1 or 2 weeks. So, and also one of the examples, we have been working with Microsoft together, and also the sponsorship from AstraZeneca is to target it at 2 conditions, which is COPD, so chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, and CKD, which is chronic kidney diseases, to find patient at both pre-diagnosis stage and also the post-diagnosis stage.
Thank you very much. Can you go a bit more in details for this AstraZeneca case? And by the way, the woman we worked with in Astra was supposed to be there today, but she's COVID. So we thank her, and she is in her bed.
Right. Yes, so just go a bit deeper over here. I mean, the magnitude or the economic magnitude of COPD, CKD, right, in a globe, I mean, it's not a problem, it's not a single problem in the US, not a single problem in the US, in Europe, but also across the globe, where this disease is causing a quite heavy economic cost for the healthcare systems, both public and private healthcare systems. Predominantly, like, for example, COPD, $50 billion for the costings, 70–80% of patients do not even know they have the conditions, and 30% of patients who have COPD exacerbations are not even coded in their metadata in their EHR systems, which means those patients will be easily missed. And similarly for chronic kidney diseases, over $100 billion in terms of costings, and 90% of those patients do not even know they have the condition. And this condition is very prevalent. Like 1 in 3 patients in America will have this condition, especially those elderly age patients. And the problem is that as soon as we enter the severe stage of COPD and CKD, when the patient being found, the costing will be very high, the patient will have very poor prognosis, and the outcome will be very poor. So that's why right now we're scaling and working together with Microsoft and AstraZeneca, deploying this at healthcare centers in the US, in Spain, and also started out in Japan and China, is to find more patients earlier in their stage. And over here, as you can see, we're able to find more patients, right, by using the KDIGO guideline for CKD, the GOLD guideline for COPD, find patient, like more COPD patients and CKD patients earlier in their stage to make sure the patient will be brought into the care, for example, for trial purposes, for monitoring purposes, or sometimes could be even for make sure the patient are diagnosed on time. And it's not only for COPD, CKD as the umbrella-like diseases, but also break down to the different stages of the diseases. Like for COPD, our focus has been focusing on the patient who are COPD exacerbation, which is on the top. So we're able to find more patients on that. And for CKD, our focus has been more on the pre-diagnosis stage, where a patient is at risk of CKD, but have not been diagnosed with CKD yet. So we're able to find 6 times more patients around that as well. So those are the different stages we're looking at, right, to make sure the patient receive the most suitable or the recommended treatment they are supposed to receive based on the global guidelines the clinicians are already using by themselves in the clinic. And as a summary, so working with Microsoft and also our customers in pharmaceutical and also in the healthcare centers is number 1, to ensure the patients are receiving the quality of care, especially following the clinical guidelines, to make sure the patients are on the guideline concordant or directed medical treatment. And second is to optimize the clinical care pathways, right? Reduce the events, especially those unplanned events for care cost and time. And finally is to transform the care and improve patient outcomes. So COPD-CKD is, of course, one of our use cases with our major pharma, which is with AstraZeneca and Microsoft. So we have other use cases spanning across like rare conditions and also oncologies, different oncologies as well. So we're at the Microsoft booth, right, in booth number 7. So if you're interested, come and find us and have you talk more. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.